Hello and welcome to the Auto Shaman Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to empowering you to act with confidence and achieve automotive enlightenment. Each week, I, the Auto Shaman, answer your car-related questions and concerns, giving you the power to make the right decisions. Email the Auto Shaman at theautoshamanpodcast@gmail.com. That's SHAMAN at gmail.com. Follow us on all major platforms, and if you like what you hear, why not tell a friend? Fear not, I have been beyond the pale and can guide you through the darkness. Welcome back, everybody. Auto Shaman Podcast, Episode 2. We've got questions. We've got thoughts. Let's dig into it. I've been thinking more and more this week about the tariffs that are set to begin nearly everything we buy and how it's going to affect the auto industry. And I don't mean for this to become a political show. Think what you will about Donald Trump. I think the goals of the tariffs, misguided though they may be, are noble. That's to say, we've lost a manufacturing base in this country. Bear with me, I record live to tape here, so if I make mistakes, we'll just continue on. We used to make things in this country, and we don't anymore. And resultingly, the jobs that went along with that, and particularly the salaries that went along with that, have disappeared. So we ask ourselves, well, how do we begin to make things in America again? And I think the idea that you are going to tariff your way back into a manufacturing base, particularly when it comes to the automotive industry, is sort of a naive view of how cars are produced any longer. I think he maybe thinks cars are produced the same way that the elves produced toys in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They sit at a table with wooden hammers, and one works on a rocking horse and the other a dolly, all in the same room. And some grumpy old elf tells you can't be a dentist and you must continue making alternators. But anymore, cars are more and more complicated. They involve more and more parts. And they come from a disparate source of providers. Let me ask you this question. You're in the market for a new vehicle, and you say to yourself, I want to buy an American-made car. I'm going to present to you two options. You can purchase the Jeep Compass, produced by strong American brand Jeep, or you can purchase the Toyota Tundra, made by Toyota, a Japanese-based company. Now, which of these cars do you think is more American? And I understand that we're comparing apples and oranges here. The Jeep Compass and the Toyota Tundra, they're different markets, they're different cars, they sit in different budgets and serve different purposes in life. But just for the sake of argument, you're going to choose between the American Jeep Compass or the Japanese Toyota Tundra. Well, our first fault comes in the understanding that Jeep is an American company. Jeep was purchased by a company whose headquarters are based in the Netherlands and whose primary corporate office is based in Turin, Italy, and that company is called Stellantis. The Jeep Compass is built in Mexico, is based on the Fiat 500X or Fiat Punto, so it's nearly dollar for dollar the same car as a Fiat Punto, and is produced in factories in Mexico, India, Brazil, China, and Italy, primarily of parts sourced from that Fiat produced in Italy. And then you go look at the Toyota Tundra, and the thing's built in Texas. And it's made of 67% American source parts. The engine's built here, the transmission's built here, final assembly happens here in the United States of America, built by American hands. So your Japanese car winds up being more American than Jeep, the car that won World War II for the Yankees, right? So it just gets a bit silly to think, oh, we're gonna bring back American manufacturing by promoting American companies and imposing a penalty on vehicles imported, parts imported. Yet 67% of the parts of the Toyota Tundra are built here, but the remaining percentage has to come from somewhere. And it's going to be true of every part. Let's say you're going to build a seat. And I mention seats particularly because 400 workers recently, this week in fact, in Tennessee were laid off at a factory producing seats for the Cadillac. So here we have a seat we're going to build to put it in an American branded car. Well, how many components go into a seat? We've got a steel frame. We've got leather upholstery. Anymore, we have an airbag sensor in the seat to see who's sitting there and how much they weigh. We've got little steel hog rings to hold the leather down to the seat frame. We've got plastic clips that go into it. We've got plastic components that go down the side. So what percentage of this seat is American made? And if we impose a tariff on a hog ring that sells for 2 pennies, you're not going to get a company in America that's going to make those. Who's press forming plastic clips for seats? Who's making the airbag sensors? I'd put good money on them coming from Denso, which is a Japanese company. And you're cutting into the margins of a company that is producing jobs in America. And I think the fault here lies in that idea that you're going to punish those who are seeking to profit in our market while producing things in a place where labor is cheaper. And there's two ways to motivate an outcome that you'd like. You've got a stick and you've got a carrot. And as far as the tariffs go, we're leaning entirely to the stick side. And experience and history will show us that a stick given to corporations will be used as a cudgel against those who have to pay for the final product. Conversely, we can see that the carrot applied without the stick leads to graft, waste, spending that goes unwarranted. And the example I'll give of that is what's happened to college education. The government said, we're going to back your education by providing a loan. And what wound up happening is that colleges learned they could charge whatever they wanted because there would always be someone there to back the exorbitant costs that they are going to impose on students who wish to better their lives. So it's clear that one applied without the other is misguided. I think, okay, yes, let's have tariffs, but let's couple that with a carrot. And I got a couple of ideas, and not that they would ever be, enacted. Trump's certainly not going to listen to this podcast and go, you know what, this guy's right. But I think if your goal is to return jobs to the United States and bolster our economy, you've got a couple of options. The first one that stands out to me is if you were to say anyone who opens a new plant in the United States of America is exempt from payroll taxes for the next X amount of years. Now, as an employee, you pay a lot of taxes, and your employer pays an equal portion of that. And it's a big impediment to hiring new people. It's an impediment to creating new jobs. And it's why a greater portion of your compensation, if you're very lucky and have a decent job, comes from fringe benefits. Oh, we're going to give you legal help, and here's a few free psychiatrist visits. Here's your health insurance. That is a way to attract employees without giving them payroll. So by granting an amnesty, you now have taken the labor market, which has become unaffordable for manufacturers by nature of the fact that they can send things to Mexico, buy things from China, where people live on slave wages essentially. And you've made it more attractive to build things in the United States, especially when it's coupled with the fact that the part you're buying from China, it's costing 25, 50, 100% more in the case of China. Now, and this is the idea that I think is the good one. Where do most car deals fall apart in a dealership? It's in the finance department. It's in the room that they take you to at the very end where they want to sell you the warranties and talk final numbers and sell you a windshield protection program and shop your credit around to every bank they can get their hands on. Well, the US Treasury has more money than anyone going, and they have no problem giving it out to people. It's clear if a corporation wants it, we've got bailouts, we've got TARP, we've got COVID relief. We pull money seemingly from air to give to those who largely have donated to those in a position to give the money out. So why can't the government say if a car is made of say 65, 70% American sourced parts, we will provide the financing at a subprime rate. So if you watched my last YouTube video, prime lending right now is hovering close to 7%. And it's adding a huge amount on the final cost of new car purchases. And when you crunch the numbers, it really doesn't make sense anymore. And the same thing's happening with mortgages. And maybe there's a place for this too. And this example already exists in the case of mortgages because you have USDA loans. They want development in rural areas. And so they said, hey, we, the US government, will back your loan at a lower interest rate. So take that idea and bring it to manufacturers and say, you put out a car, you make it out of 75% or greater American sourced parts with jobs that pay a living wage. And we will back anyone with a decent, not even a great credit score, to buy this car at a rate that is reasonable. And it's not like we don't get anything in return from that. You still get that 3%, 2%, 4%, whatever back. That there's a reason banks do this. It's not out of the kindness of their heart that they loan you the money to buy a new car. So why can't we as a people do the same thing? And you cannot tell me that the car that is for sale that you can get a low interest loan on will not be one of the hottest selling cars on the market. It will be. So why not enter that game and give these companies a reason to not just pass the buck and pass these tariffs along to you. We're already seeing it happen. Dealers are holding on to cars because they know the next shipment is going to come in more. It's going to cost them more. And they don't want to give away cars that they know in a month or two they can very well justify selling for a greater amount. So let's give that carrot in addition to the stick. I think the goal is noble. We need American jobs. We need people to have a living wage. It's important that we build things in this country. And so in that regard, I guess I support half of the tariffs, but this is going to hurt people. This is going to hurt auto manufacturers. This is going to put people out of work. Because if you're in that final assembly plant, the one that's located here in America, and it closes down because the 50% of parts that come from an outside supplier, it's no longer cost effective to buy and produce. And if we're going to pay a 25% tariff, let's put the whole thing together and bring it in one lump sum rather than paying here, 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 and here. It's going to hurt your wallet. It's going to hurt your job. There needs to be a reason for these car companies to build American cars and build them with American made parts. Okay, people, we got some questions this week. If you have questions for me about buying a car, selling a car, fixing your car, insurance claims, email me, the Auto Shaman Podcast at gmail.com. Let's dig into these. Hello, Car Shaman. Recently, I had a flat tire, and when I went to have it looked at, the shop sold me 4 new tires, but only one was broken. It was nearly $1,000, and I really feel I may have been taken advantage of. Please help. That comes from Abby G at Kalispell, Montana. Yeah, tires are expensive. They're really expensive, and it's getting worse. We were talking a minute ago about tariffs. Ooh, how many tires do you think are built in the United States of America? Not many. Not many. And they're going to get more expensive with these tariffs. So you had a flat tire. Common occurrence. When you go to get your tire looked at with a flat, the first thing you're going to want to ask them is if the tire is repairable. And a lot of times, depending on the shop you go to, they're going to say, well, we don't repair flat tires. It's a liability. You have to buy new ones. And I suppose it's true in some regard. You certainly don't want to have them just plug a tire if you got a sports car and you're going 100 miles an hour on the regular. But your sedan, you drive around town, put a plug in it. Maybe it pops out and and you're flat again, but you paid $30 for it. The best way to repair a tire is what we call a plug over patch. What they'll do is they'll take the tire off. They call it dressing back an area where they'll grind away some of the rubber to get a nice clean surface. They'll pull a plug through the hole, and then they'll lay a patch over the top of it, which is like a whole new skin of the tire. And you've got a combination of the hole being filled and something backing it, preventing the air from escaping. It's not an option depending on where the tire is punctured. If someone slashed your tires like in a movie and they cut out the sidewalls, you need a new tire. If the puncture is very large, I've seen people run over sockets, chainsaw tools. I've seen people run over bullets, and you wind up with a pretty big hole, and there's no way to fix it. But a screw, a nail, a staple, that's fixable if it's within the meat of the tread. So when should you buy a new tire? I suspect that the reason that you feel you were taken advantage of is that they didn't do a very good job of explaining why you needed at least one new tire and why you needed 4 new tires. Depending on your vehicle, if you've got an all-wheel drive vehicle, Unless you punctured 4 brand new tires, replacing one requires replacement of at least 2 and very likely all 4 tires. For any vehicle, if you're replacing one tire, you should replace both tires on an axle. And a good way to determine if this is what you should do is by reading your owner's manual. Your owner's manual is going to tell you, here's what you need to do when you replace a tire. It'll say directly, hey, if there's more than a couple of 30 seconds on the tread depth of the tire, you need to replace all 4. Well, it's okay to replace one. Let's replace 2. It's in there. You can find it. Table of contents, tires, maintenance. You can find it. The reason we want to replace an axle set is because tires wear. And when they wear, you reduce the circumference of the tire and they wind up spinning at different rotations. And when you're on a drive axle, what happens is you wind up putting a lot of wear on your differential. And without getting too into the weeds on how a differential works, the differential allows you to give power to your wheels and still allow them to turn at different speeds. And if you've got one tire that's half the size of the other, that side with the smaller tire is spinning twice as fast. And it's putting a lot more wear on one side of your differential. When you're presented with something that doesn't make sense at a repair facility, like, oh, we want you to buy all 4 tires and you have to have an alignment and you need to do this and you need to do that, stop and ask them why. And if they can't give you an answer that is satisfactory, go make some phone calls. It's tough when you're in a position like a flat tire because likely you've paid for a tow for this vehicle to come to the shop that it landed at, and you think, I'm stuck. And these guys know better. And you wind up making a decision under duress, more or less. Because you think, I don't want to spend another $300 to tow this to another shop. I guess I'd better just do what they say. What's to stop you from saying, hold on, I need a minute to think this over. I'm going to call someone. Pick up your phone and Google 3 other tire shops in the area and call them and say, hey, I got this car and the tire's punctured and the shop is telling me that I need to do this. And they're going to explain, yeah, I'd do that too. Or no, don't do that. And never forget that at the end of the day, you're the customer. The shop may have the right to say, no, I'm not doing it that way, but you're paying and you decide what happens. So say, no, I'm only doing 1 tire. I don't care what you think it's going to do to my car. Hopefully that's coming from an informed position, but you're the car owner, not them. And they're going to lean on you with their expertise. But because you've taken the time to read your owner's manual and you've sought a couple of extra opinions, you tell them how it's going to go, not the other way around. You got to drive the ship in a repair. So just something to think about next time you're in one of those positions. You're broken down, you got a flat tire, and the shop is telling you something that doesn't make sense. Put the brakes on. Ask more questions. Ask that shop to explain his position. Seek other opinions. Read your owner's manual. Google it. Google it. And I didn't mention this in my video from this week, but one nice thing about having an older car, 100 other people have seen the same problem you have, and there's a forum post about it. It's dangerous to trust them, but you take the totality of the positions that you can find and make an informed decision. Take a breath, slow down, and advocate for yourself. Be brave. Say what you need. Tell them you're not buying it. Make it make sense for yourself. Okay, our next question. Dear Car Shaman, the other day I came out of Walmart and found someone had run into my car, damaging my fender and bumper. They didn't leave a note, and Walmart would not release the security footage to me to track them down. I'd like to get the car fixed, but I'm worried about my insurance rates in the future. Please advise. That comes from Steve M. in Aurora, Colorado. Walmart does not give out their video footage. They think it's manna from God or gold. And unless the police request it, which they won't, because it happened on private property, they're not going to give you the footage. So in the case where you've been run into at a Walmart parking lot, it's tough luck, bud. Okay, you've been hit. What's it going to cost to fix your car? A lot. Body repairs are expensive. As soon as it goes into the paint booth, you can expect $1,000 to come out of your pocket, depending on the extent of the damage. And if you have questions like this in the future, please include pictures of the damage. You're going to be looking at a couple of grand, and I nearly guarantee it's going to be more than your deductible. Even if you have a $2,000 deductible, which that's going to be hard to come up with if you're sitting on a $2,000 deductible insurance policy. Because I suspect you were trying to save some money on your premiums because the budget's probably tight. You want a fender and a bumper repaired, you think, okay, that's good. Shouldn't be too bad. Well, did you consider that the door is going to need to be painted as well? So it doesn't look like you've got one orange door and one red fender? Did you consider all the work that's going to go into taking every little piece, bit, trim off all those parts? Do you know how many body parts come off and you're not supposed to put them back on? They're one-time use. It's a lot. Bumper and a fender, $3,000, $4,000 all day long. So turn it into your insurance. Pay the deductible. If your rates go up, what's the chance that the extra monthly charge is greater over a year than the $4,000 you might pay to get the repair done? It's not likely. You're going to be way more out of pocket paying for a body repair without involving your insurance, because it's going to be more than you're expecting. And insurance companies get a discounted rate from body shops. They have an agreement on what they'll pay for labor, what they'll pay for paint, and it's undervalued. Insurance companies are getting a deal on body rates, and the shops know that, and they love when people come in with customer pay work orders because they know they can charge 50% more on their body rate and get more money out of you. What affects your insurance premiums more than the number of accidents you've had is your market. Unless you're out here causing an accident a quarter, if this is the one time you're turning in an insurance claim, maybe your rates are going to go up $10 a month. But what's going to affect your rates more is maybe you went from being 34 to 35. Maybe you went from 21 to 25, and now you're in a lower risk bracket. Maybe no one in your market turned in a claim, and they didn't have to spend as much money in that area. Maybe everyone turned in a claim. They totaled 3/4 of the cars that came through, and they were paying out the nose for every hit that occurred. Maybe the shops won some more body time, and it's now more expensive to fix a car. Those kind of factors go more into your insurance rates than one accident. So don't be afraid. You're paying for it every month. Turn it in, get your money's worth, take the hit of your deductible, take the hit that maybe your rates are going to go up a little bit, maybe a little bit. But in the long run, you're going to have someone to negotiate it with you, make sure that the repairs are done the way they should, and leave you less exposed financially. Because You're going to pay out the nose to get that fixed if you pay out of pocket. Go through your insurance if you have an accident. Maybe your car will total fine. Did you really want to pay out of pocket more to repair your car than it's worth? Get the help. You're paying for it. Our last question, and again, if you have questions for me, the auto shaman podcast at gmail.com. Send them in. I'll help you out. Car shaman. My son is about to turn 16 and wants a car for his birthday. What's a good first car for a new driver? And that's from Sophie B out of Redmond, Washington. Oh, a good car for a new driver is a bus pass. I think 16's too young to drive a car, but it's the way it is. So what do we get a new driver? And there's a hint in here that it's your son, so it's a young man. Young men are irresponsible drivers, and my source for that is being a young man who was an irresponsible driver. At 16, I got cars airborne. I went over 100 miles an hour. I did as many handbrake turns as I could. I got in 3 accidents in the course of like 2 years, picked up a couple of speeding tickets. Next time you're at a light and you want to take a right out onto the street and you think, is that enough gap for me to pull out and get up to speed? And then you go, that's not enough. I'll wait for the next gap. Understand that your son is going to go, I can make it. And that's if he's had the thought, is it enough of a gap for me to get out? So I think you want to go for something that is going to curtail some of that instinct they're going to have to show off to their friends, impress whoever they're interested in. The other thing you don't want with a new driver is for them to have lots of distractions. So if you're going to buy a car, a four-door car, a sedan, an SUV, go take it to a shop and have them pull the back seats out. When they've proven their worth, they can have the back seat. They're going to load their friends up in it. They're going to crank the radio. They're going to go as fast as they can. Their friends are going to tease them. They're going to egg them on. And the best thing you can do is not allow that. And not allow that by means of mechanical intervention. So, what is the best first car for a 16-year-old boy? I think it's an older single cab pickup truck. And I'll tell you for why. One, out the gate, no backseat. Chances are good he's going to load about 6 kids into the bench seat at some point. But at least you've tried your best to not have that happen. And two, a young man wants a cool ride. And that's why they want hot rods. That's why they want good looking cars. And a truck, it's not going to be fast, hopefully. But it's not going to let them load their friends around everywhere, hopefully. But I think there's also some cachet in it for a young man to have a cool truck. It's not like they're driving a minivan or a car their mom took the back seats out of. They can say, yeah, I got a truck. It's cool. Look at it. And they can use it to work. You can send them to the dump in it. They can still go to the grocery store for you. It's perfectly capable for everything they want to do. It's not going to go 100 miles an hour. It's big if they get in a collision. And the other thing is, too, every modification they're going to want to make to this thing, you're going to support. Ordinarily, I don't recommend people modify their cars. I think it ruins them. But everything they're going to want to do to this thing makes it slower, worse, and it's just going to slow them down. But they're going to think, oh, this is cool. Mom's going to let me modify it. She's got no problems with it. And maybe they'll do it themselves and foster an interest in working on cars, and we'll have some more automotive technicians, which we're in need of. But oh, Mom, I want to lift my truck. Okay, you're good with it because now it doesn't corner as fast. They're not going to be as incentivized to go 100 miles an hour through a corner. If you lift it, you got to put bigger wheels on it. You know what that does? It slows down the acceleration. It slows the car down overall. And they think they're doing something cool. And they think they've modified their car and made it better, and they've made it worse. And the other thing you want to support, and this one's going to seem so counterintuitive, is for them to put a big loud exhaust on it. You're going to hate it. It's going to be annoying. But when they come home after curfew, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear them coming down the road 2 blocks away. You're going to hear them hooning around in town. There's no sneaking around when you've put a friggin' 4-inch exhaust pipe out of the back of your truck. So let them do it. Let them do it. Let them ruin their cars. They think they're cool, but boy, they've really just given you the tools to track them, slow them down. It's just smart. Nobody else should modify their cars, but let your teenage son lift his car and put a loud exhaust on it. It's not making it faster. It's making it's making it safer. And it incentivizes a sport that it's kind of safe. I mean, I nearly lost an uncle to an off-roading accident, but compared to your kid buying a Honda and putting all the go faster bits on it and heading to the street races on Saturday night, crawling around slow over rocks, it's much safer. Um, the only other thing I think you'd you'd want them to put in there is an Intoxilock. You don't have to have a DUI to go get one of those put in. Let it blow and go in there. Young men are stupid. They are. They think they can do more than they can. And that stays the case for a good portion of their life. So just some things to think about. Go look for like a 2002 Chevy Silverado single cab. Go get him a Ford F-150 single cab. Long bed, better. Slower. Big. Good in an accident. Airbags. Perfect car for a young man. All right, gang, that's all the time we have for this week. Well, I've got more time, but I'm out of questions and things to talk about, and you're probably sick of listening to me. Don't forget, if you have questions, email me, theautoshamanpodcast@gmail.com. I'll read them here. I'll talk you through it. I'll let you know what I think. If I need follow-up, I'll send you an email back. We'll take a look at things. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Appreciate you listening. I've got a new video coming out this week. It's going to be about changing your oil. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Check out my video from earlier in the week about what's the right car, what's the best car to buy. It's fun. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next week.